Well, the weather has been chucking it down here in Yorkshire, so that means it's a rainy day project. And I'm going to have a go at fixing this butcher style kitchen worktop on the boat, not at home this time. And there's a big split here and it's starting to come away here. This isn't the original join, but that is. So I've got some shims. Let me show you. So if you remember the oak desk in that direction against the wall, I had some offcuts and my dad has cut these down on his table saw in different thicknesses. So I'm going to cut some, wedge it in, glue it together and leave it to set overnight. Ooh. So first I'm checking to see which one fits in the back. Test fit it first. I guess thicker there. That's not what I wanted. Oh, you're having a laugh. Right. Take two. That's ridiculous. Now time to mask up for this resin glue that my dad gave me. Plus, he strictly warned me to wear gloves. Although the masking tape didn't actually last. Once it was in, I thought I'd add a bit more around it, just in case it was shy. But to prop up the hob to get to the front area, this is where I made an absolute clanger of a mistake and place a block on top of the glue. It'll bite me later. Now a glue catcher. That'll do a little bit. The idea was to go as thick as possible so I didn't need a clamp. But it also meant that I will definitely be belt sanding it later, and there was visible damage that somebody had tried to sand something before, so it wasn't as straight as it should be. Right. I don't want to put this in too far and not be able to cut any excess off for this lip to go back down. So I'm pushing it into where I'm comfortable with. There's actually a taper here, so I think that's going to be alright. And then, so you don't want to get too close. And then just mark it. Just mark it as a reference mark. Ooh, not move it. Make sure it's flat with that actually. Well, we'll sort that out in a minute. Right, gloves back on. Might be far too much, but we'll see what comes out. You'll also notice my pencil line is a bit further over because I've decided to wedge it in further, draw another line. It goes to about there. Yep, that'll do. The glue up is going on there. We'll leave that overnight, come back. So it was actually 2 days later at this point, and time to discover my mistake. Oh no, that's hilarious. Ah. But no need to panic because I had the perfect tool for the job. My mini Stanley pull saw that I bought years ago to trim dowel joinery. It's a very cool tool. Of course, affiliate links below. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. I just need to belt sand it later to finish it off. Next, that cheeky block. Yes. At least I can laugh at my own mistakes. Now let's talk one of my other favourite tools, and that is a carbide scraper. Now my original one on the left here is my backhoe one. That's actually about twice the price of the Harris one on the right, and the blades are a lot more expensive. So I wanted to know, are they interchangeable? Plus the backhoe one, the blade, I've never changed it in all the 3 years of using it. But this job was going to be much bigger, so I wanted a few new blades. However, I did notice if you are going to go for the Harris blade in the other one, you need to tighten it up a little bit more. And the difference in the shavings was marginal. These are also great for anyone who doesn't know how to sharpen tools, which I started teaching myself this week with an actual cabinet scraper. And with these kind of tools, it drastically cuts down sanding time. It's quieter, it creates less mess, but the cabinet scraper is cheaper. If you're just doing a one-off job, I'd probably go for the one with the replaceable blades. It's nice to have the knob on it as well, but you'll notice that actually under the gunnels, that little gap at the back of the worktop, I needed the smaller one. It's also a good idea to keep the shavings just in case you do want to fill any chips mixed with glue later. And there's a lot of built up oil and grease probably on this worktop, so I wanted to shave the whole lot. But I'm just going to skip forward to a little test that I did recently. If you've got any stains and stuff like that, or you don't even want to use a carbide scraper, you could try and use something called Barkeeper's Friend, which has got oxalic acid. I don't know if I've said that right, but it bleaches the wood. So if you have anything stubborn, you don't want to keep shaving it off, creating a dip, definitely give that a go. So a few quick tips. You should go with the grain, because if you go against it, you can actually dig deeper than you want to. Try to avoid corners, because you can dig again, and pull towards you. With a cabinet scraper, I showed you wrong earlier, you're meant to go the other way. And when you're going in corners, the edge can actually scrape the opposite surface, so you do have to be careful. And there's still a lot of elbow grease involved, but I've said this before, I find it really therapeutic, and I can get in the zone doing this job while listening to music or audiobooks. For the end grain, I was still very careful, but it actually worked okay. Now I mentioned sanding gets dusty. This is where I definitely need to wear a mask and straighten that join that I'd glued a wedge in. Our secret. Then after hours of scraping, I only dedicate about 15 minutes to sanding. For the finish, I know some are going to be disappointed with this. I was going to go for a worktop oil, but I took my dad's advice because we are mucky pups. We're not disciplined enough to keep wooden worktops dry. So I decided to use the same exterior varnish that I used on my desk. I didn't fancy having to re-oil it every year or whatever, and I didn't want to see any ring marks. Plus in the winter we're likely to get condensation, and I wanted it to be as low maintenance as possible. And give everything one coat, leave to dry for about 4 hours, come back, key it and repeat. So it's had time to dry overnight, and I've come back and I forgot how lovely it looked. I think it was harder to see last night, but I'm going to give it just a gentle key over everywhere and then give it another coat, set my desk up to do some work, leave it about 4 hours, repeat, and just keep going until I think I've got enough coats on. I might go for 3 or 4, I'll let you know in a bit, but yeah, very pleased. So here's how it looked. Completely worth doing, knowing it's now waterproof, but although I put the hob back on, I won't be putting anything on there for a full 24 hours just to make sure it's hardened. Anyway, if you do anything differently, let me know below and I'll catch you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.